her last formal meeting. She will be with us for the town meeting. But we really, from the bottom of our heart, wanted to be able to say how much we've appreciated her love and support and her support to the community. I'll read a quick citation after Ann and Susanna speak, but you got flowers from us earlier today. We couldn't be happier that that you're with us this evening. And so I just like to open the floor to Ann and then Susanna. Thank you.
All right, well, this is a first for us, right, Susie, to do this. And, you know, when Michael got in touch with us and said he wanted to do something special for you, because he contacted us a while ago, of course, before all of COVID, all of that happened. So we had planned to be there in person with you. So this is definitely a first to do citations. So it's going to be like, the check is in the mail, the citation is in the mail, Diane. But listen, we just want to really say thank you. Thank you for, we know how much you love the town of Templeton. You know, serving these last couple terms, your work as vice chair, putting your heart and soul into the school project. And, you know, part of being on the select board, you know, you folks, you know, Susie and I, we get phone calls too, but you guys get a lot of those phone calls. And a lot of the times, you know, people are stopping you at the stores or calling on weekends at nights, and they're not always very pleasant. And, you know, you listen, you've done things with your heart and your soul, and that has shown through. And it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you, to work with the board. So on behalf of the state Senate, Diane, for your years of service, your meritorious service, your public service to the town of Templeton, including your years, I know you can't say this, but we will get this to you. So congratulations from the entire state Senate to you, and for your service to the town. We wish you all the best. Love you.
Oh, thank you so much, Ann.
My good friend, Susanna.
I've loved working with you.
Diane, thank you so much. And as many people know, as rewarding as public service can be, it's oftentimes daunting and difficult. And I just thank you and all of the people who step up and want to make their town a better place. And on behalf of the Massachusetts House of Representatives, we'd like to thank you so very much for all of your work and dedication to the town. We'd also like to wish you all the best in whatever you do in your future. And we know you're going to still be around and helping your neighbors, and we appreciate that so very much. So on behalf of the House, we say thank you and best wishes, and you take care of yourself. And to everybody on board, I hope you all stay healthy and safe during this time, and hopefully we'll all be together in one room soon.
That's right.
Thank
Thank you so much, Susanna. I've appreciated working with you too.
All right. All the best, you guys. We'll be in touch.
Take care, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you,
good night.
ladies. Take care. Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Take
very
care.
much.
Appreciate
You
you.
bet.
Just a quick note before we begin. I want to read just a brief section of what is included in those citations. They have different narratives on both of them, but a lot of the accomplishments are going to be the same. So just very quickly, and we'll get into the business for this evening. Mrs. Diane Haley served 2 terms on the Templeton Board of Selectmen from May 2014 until May of 2020, now June. 2 of those years as the vice chairwoman. During her time as vice chairwoman, she proposed and oversaw several critical initiatives that dramatically improved the lives of the citizens of Templeton, Massachusetts, which include the 4 villages of Baldwinville, East Templeton, Otter River, and Templeton. Her dedication and determination were evidenced in the opening of a brand new, about $50 million elementary school, the reestablishment of a Moody's Bawden rating for the town's finances, as well as a comprehensive reboot of the town's policies and procedures. Selectwoman Haley accomplished all these achievements for the town through expert communication and balanced cooperation of her fellow board members, as well as the associated stakeholders. Selectwoman Haley will be known mostly for her role in strengthening the public safety team in Templeton, most notably for her efforts in procuring a special $225,000 grant for our new police station. Selectwoman Diane Haley, thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Okay,
Nice job, Mike. I appreciate that.
Thank
absolutely.
you, all of you.
Hopefully when we get to see you in person, there'll be a little bit more than just getting all choked up over the internet. Okay, good evening. The time is now 6:39. I see we are live streaming and recording. I'm Chairman Mike Curry, and I'd like to call this Board of Selectmen business meeting to order on this 10th day of June 2020. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United
United States of America
America.
and to the republic
To the republic
for which it stands,
stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God, visible,
And
with
with
liberty
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 and
and
justice
justice
and justice
for all.
for all. Great, thank you, everyone. Just a quick roll call for those online and for those who are watching. I am watching the live stream at this point. We've got Diane Haley, Mike Curry, Terry Griffiths, Carter Terenzini, Adam Montaigne, Jeff Bennett, Holly Young, Julie Richard, and we have TCTV in attendance with us, making sure everything goes smooth. We do have a quorum. Before we begin, I'd like to state for the record that we are not only being live streamed on YouTube web platform, but the entire proceeding this evening, except any executive sessions, are being recorded for both TCTV Cable Station 8 and later viewing on the TCTV YouTube channel. As always, our agenda for this evening has been set no later than 48 hours out by law, and it is publicly available at the official source for town information, TempletonMA.gov. That's G-O-V. Although I have the discretion as chairperson to add and remove from the agenda, it has been set to allow for time, personnel resources, and public awareness. I reserve the right to move the agenda items around to best fit our business and our guests. Thank you. Quick note about our technology. We are live streaming, we are recording. Let's see, I am watching for comments. For people who are looking to publicly interact with this meeting, you absolutely can. I will mostly look for questions rather than to react to comments, although if it is a salient point, I will do that. Remember to try and identify yourself as best as possible, as residents are the priority when making comments on our chat area. Couple of Zoom rules for the road. Mind your mute button. Make sure that you're watching whether you're muted or unmuted. If you're not speaking, it is best if you mute yourself. It improves the audio quality and quite possibly your own broadband speed. Please use video when possible. It looks like no one's wearing a banana t-shirt, so it looks like everyone's dressed properly. And I think that is about it. I already talked about the live stream. All right. Jumping into our agenda. At this point, is there any public comment? Just in the quick space of silence there, I want to reiterate some of the comments coming off of YouTube with the presentation of those citations. Amanda Susie says, thanks for your hard work, select person Haley. And Scott Dill says, thank you, Diane, for all your years of service. You will be greatly missed. I'm going to pause just in case there is any other public comment on our chat. And catch my breath. If there's a little bit of a delay and there is public comment, I will circle back to that. Okay, I'm going to move into our agenda item number 4. That is A and B. First are the meeting minutes for our May 27th business meeting and our May 27th special meeting. You should have a copy of those minutes within your agenda packet. I did confirm that the agenda packet was online in the calendar area.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Diane.
I make a motion to approve the special meeting minutes of Wednesday, May 27th, 2020, as written.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any comments on the minutes for the special May 27th meeting? Okay, hearing none. On the motion for the special meeting for May 27th, how do you vote, Jeff?
Yes,
Terry?
Yes.
Julie?
Abstain.
Diane?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Great. How about the business meeting? Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the May 27th business meeting?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead,
I
Diane.
make a motion to approve the business meeting minutes of Wednesday, May 27th, 2020, as written, but I do have a question.
Do you want to take care of the question during comments or get
During
clarification?
comments, I would like a second first.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a question, sure. If it's going to impact the motion.
It may impact the motion. Mr. Chairman, may I ask Holly a question?
Holly, are you available?
Yes.
So Holly, during the meeting, Mike had asked to make sure that there was some commentary that Jeff had made to make sure that they were in the minutes. Is that in there?
Yes.
Okay, was it about the Pleasant Street house?
I'd have to look.
Yeah, I couldn't remember, but you're certain that it's in there?
I'm pretty certain. I can double check.
I did go
Um,
back in. I don't know if there was any like deeper discussion, but Jeff had brought that up and now I remember, Diane. It's weird how stuff gets triggered.
Yeah,
Jeff had brought it up during comments, and I wanted to make sure that it got into the minutes. So I think that's what the issue was. He had brought it up during board and staff member comments.
I just
Yeah.
need to make sure, maybe Jeff can answer the question.
I saw it.
I need to make sure that it's in there.
I saw it.
it is in there.
And
It
that was the business meeting, not the executive session, right?
That
That's
was the
correct. It was
business meeting and it is in there.
And that's what we're talking about right now, the
So then I would stay with my motion as presented.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the minutes of the business meeting of May 27th.
second, but I got the meetings backwards.
Oh, okay.
I don't
I have a
know.
motion and a second. Other than the discussion about the Pleasant Street property, making sure that that was in there. Is there any other questions, comments, concerns about those minutes?
Not about those, but about the previous one, because I should have abstained from the special. I got them backwards.
Now, well, can I just explain something to Terry?
Yep.
As long as you read the minutes and you are familiar with them, then you do not have to abstain.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, hearing no further discussion on those minutes for the business meeting on May 27th. On that motion, it has been seconded. How do you vote? Julie?
Abstain.
Jeff?
Yes,
Terry?
Yes,
Diane?
Yes,
And I vote yes as well. Okay, we'll move on to the executive session minutes. So just to clarify for everybody, to have that 5:30 executive, you had to come into a special meeting and then vote to go into executive session. So I hope people aren't getting confused that there was another meeting that they didn't have. If because we had that executive session prior to that, you have the record that you went into a meeting, then you immediately went into executive session, and then you came back out, just to make sure everyone understood.
So this is the 5:30 meeting that I
That
couldn't
is-
sign,
that
the
is
one we
correct.
had trouble with, then I couldn't get into. And then-
Correct.
Oh, so I'm all set for the last two votes. It's this one that I had trouble because we were having trouble with the meeting.
Yep. So we'll need a motion to approve the executive session minutes for this special meeting. And then the executive session minutes for the business meeting.
May I ask a question of Holly? Holly,
Yep.
are these being released or not released?
One is being released and one isn't.
Well, I don't find my motions in my packet.
Okay, the business meeting minutes. Let me just check my,
I've got it open right now. So the executive session minutes for the special meeting, which was the prior to be released to the public, those will be released. So
And the
that's the
business meeting is
5:30.
not- Okay,
And then the next motion will be the post-executive meeting. So after we had the business meeting, it was the executive after that, and those will not be released to the public at
okay,
this time.
so I'm gonna do these together. Is that okay with the board?
I don't mind.
I was there for one, but not the other.
Did you read them?
Yes.
Okay, then you can choose to abstain or not abstain. I'm gonna do them together.
Hold on, Diane, you're on mute.
I apologize. I'm so used to.
Nope,
muting
that's okay. Now you're good.
So I make a motion to approve the special meeting minutes of May 27th, 2020 to be released to the public in full, and the special meeting minutes of the business meeting after the business meeting of May 27th, 2020 not to be released to the public.
Okay, just to clarify, I have a motion to approve the executive session minutes of the special meeting, May 27th, to be released to the public. And within the same motion to approve the executive session minutes of the business meeting on May 27th and not release those to the public at this time.
Yes.
Okay,
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none on the motion to approve the executive session for special meeting on the 27th to be released to the public, and to approve the executive session minutes of the 27th business meeting to not be released to the public at this time. How do you vote, Julie?
yes.
Jeff?
yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you. That was a little bit confusing, but I think we got through it quite well. Okay, let's move on to new business. If you're following on it at home, we are up to item 5, new business on the agenda. Our first item up is introductions of new employees. Mr. Terenzini or Mr. Lamontagne, do you have any introductions at this time?
We have none for you this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Great. All right, thank you. Just to let people know that Tom Harrington, Town Council, has joined us in our Zoom conference. He appears a little bit later in the agenda. Good evening, Tom.
Hello.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just a note that I have town council as an appointment in the agenda, but I neglected to put them in the motion. If we can just add Miaris and Harrington to the motion for the appointments as town council.
Oh, okay. Well, which we're up to right now, so that's
Right.
good. Okay. It's the last one, but it's not in the motion. Okay, so for those who are going to help me with some of the motions you see on the agenda, town council is included, but on your, you'll notice on the appointment sheet that it ends with the Veterans Grave Officer. We'll just need to make sure that we add Tom Harrington in for town council. Same appointment time, Holly, 1 year?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr.
All
Chairman,
right. Yes, Diane.
are you able to add that in your, in a document at all? Because I was going to ask if you could screen share that, and that's how I was going to make my motion.
Okay.
I don't know if you're able to add that.
I thankfully can. I'll do it on the fly once people start speaking and I share it. I will actually add it right into the table.
So I wanted to make my motion with you screen sharing that and just to say as presented on the screen, because I'm not, I mean, does the board have a problem if I do not read them all? Right, so are you able to add Attorney Harrington at the bottom as town council with a 1-year appointment ending June 30th, 2021?
Yep, just give me oh.
Oh, maybe not.
You can see what I'm doing right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, add text. Did I use the right council?
Yes.
Good. My typing skills are on full 2021. Little crude, but
But it works.
it did. That looks good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So let me show the whole page there so everyone
Yeah.
can see it.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve the following appointments that are online and screen shared by the chairman of the board for the years that are also posted for each committee.
Plastic cup. Losing.
Did the, I didn't hear it a second, but so what, Diane made a motion to approve what is being screen shared right now. It's appointments. They have the appointments, the first name and the last name, their appointment length, if they have a specific title, and to expire from this date going forward to the end of their appointment length. So we have Agricultural Commission, Board of Appeals, Boynton Library Trustees, Conservation Commission, Cultural Council, Economic Development Industrial Corporation, otherwise known as EDIC, Ethics Commission Liaison, Official Marker of Boundaries, Open Space Committee, Recreation Commission, Scholarship Committee, Templeton Elementary School Building Committee, the Veterans Grave Officer, and Town Council.
And those will be reflected in the minutes exactly as they appear on your screen.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions or concerns or observations?
Yes, I have a couple.
Okay,
The first one is the Ethics Commission Liaison. It shows Kara Terenzini through 2021. Is he going to be here actively in 2021? Or if he leaves, if you look at the plan and the plan is for him to basically leave in October, is he going to be a liaison consultant? I just find that a little puzzling. The other thing for the EDIC, Amanda Murray was appointed February this year, I think on the 26th. Her term goes through June 30th of 2020. Does she plan to stay? Did she indicate she wanted to be reappointed because her name doesn't appear here? Also, the same question with Steve Castle. He was on EDIC. He was appointed through this year, June 30th. Did he submit an interest form with to want to stay on that? Because I only see 2 names. And I don't believe we have 7 people appointed to EDIC.
Wouldn't Peter Haley's name be on there as well?
I can answer that. So these are the people that have actually gotten back to me and confirmed before last Wednesday that they did want to be reappointed. Steve Castle, I talked to today. He had sent an email and I didn't receive it, so he'll be on next week, our next meeting. Peter Haley hasn't gotten back to me yet, and neither for the EDIC was Amanda Susie.
Amanda Murray.
Amanda Murray.
Sorry, wrong
Right.
Amanda.
And for Carter's, I see your point. The term is for a year, so that's why I put it on there. I don't know if the board wants to put town administrator, and whoever's in that position would have that appointment.
I don't think that's the right way to do it.
So if I might, Mr. Chairman,
Please, Mr. Terenzini.
technically, that appointment under statute does not have a term. But in this instance, when the board, excuse me, takes its final vote in October, I would provide you with any appointments that I've been made to, and then you would appoint the new town administrator as my replacement to this and liaison to MRPC and a couple of other things.
That's the way so Jeff went through all of his issues first, but I was going to answer when he said the Ethics Commission liaison. I was going to make a recommendation that we proceed with the appointment, and then when you're not available, just as you said, we would basically amend any of those appointments at that time. Again, this is for the boards to vote on. That's what I would say, Jeff, in that instance. Otherwise, I would follow up with Holly about any others that we may follow up in a subsequent meeting on their appointment. So I guess what we're saying is this list is not meant to be all inclusive. It's what we've got right now for our annual appointments. If you so agree with how we would proceed with Mr. Terenzini's appointments.
Does that satisfy Jeff's questions?
That answers what I had.
Okay.
Okay. Any other issues,
Was
comments,
there a
concerns?
second to my motion?
I believe Julie second.
Yep, Julie seconded it.
Okay.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. On the motion for the reappointments to the commissions and trustees and any other town position displayed in the agenda packet and on the screen on the line for the recording, with the notations that we've had during comments, to the appointed year and in length of time. How do you vote, Julie?
Yes.
Jeff?
No.
Terry?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
I vote yes. So we've got that list there. That motion passes, Holly, to put in town council, I can either send you this amended agenda packet afterwards. So it basically, it appears exactly the same way that it did. So Diane basically said, what you're seeing on your screen is what we're approving. I can send you a copy of what I've done to that document. Would that be sufficient?
Yes,
Okay.
thank
All right,
you.
I'll do that. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing that. Okay, that takes care of our annual appointments. We are moving on to item 5C, as in Charlie, subordination agreements. This one for Purveyor and on Main Street. Who's taking that one? Adam or Carter?
I'll take each of these, Mike, and then pass off to Adam if it's a project he's worked on.
Okay.
Essentially, this is the same as we had last week. We have an automatic subordination clause in the original rehab agreement, as long as it doesn't exceed the 80% loan to value. So you can see that even after our subordination, they're taking out a first. We're at 47.75% loan to value. So under the terms of the original agreement, this is truly a ministerial action to approve this, authorize me to sign it, and then we can get it back to the parties. The agreement spells out what action you must take when it is under that 80% loan to value agreement ratio, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sure there must be some exact wording that must be read for this motion, and I don't have that. And number two, this puts us in a better position.
Holly, did we have prepared motions? I'm not seeing them in the packet.
Yeah, I didn't get them.
Yes, they should be in there.
They're not. I didn't get any, but I'm sure I mean, I can make up a motion, but I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I would request that the board authorize the two subordination agreements for Purveyor of Main Street and authorize the town administrator to execute the documents on behalf of the town.
So move.
second,
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the subordination agreements for the property at 9 Main Street, Hubbardston, as presented, and for the town administrator to sign. So that's, just to make sure people understand that that's not a Templeton address.
And Diane, you said this puts us in a better position for loan to value.
Yeah, it appears they must have had another mortgage and now they're doing away with one. So, I mean, we're still second and third, we're behind them, but they're putting themselves, and there's more equity in the property.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion. Was the motion seconded? Sorry.
Yes, but I don't know who seconded it.
I did, Julie.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Any further discussion on that subordination agreement? We're giving Mr. Terenzini the sign that. On the motion for the subordination agreement for Main Street and Hubbardston, how do you vote, Julie?
Yes,
Jeff?
Yes,
Terry?
Yes,
Diane?
Yes,
And I vote yes as well. Thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda for this evening is a open meeting law complaint from Mr. Robert May. I know Carter, you had some, you had given us kind of our motion will basically say this, how we want to handle this, but so the public understands this, this was, let's see, I just want to make sure the date is correct. All right, so it was May 27th. It was about 6:30 in the evening. As we normally do, we prepared for our meeting, and we were informed just as the recording started that TCTV was having some difficulty making the live stream to YouTube work. I made the decision to proceed because our recording was active. TCTV has never told me otherwise. I'll get to that chat comment in a second. So when TCTV said the recording was going to be our record, we proceeded with the meeting. I did actually have some communication with Mr. May during the meeting that he questioned why we were proceeding. And I told him that we were proceeding in accordance with the amended open meeting law complaint form. I'm reading off the screen, I'm sorry. The open meeting law as amended by the state, by the governor's order. So Carter, if you'd like to, you had a quick briefing in the notes that are in the agenda packet. I can either read that or you can just give a quick summation, but I believe we know how we're going to proceed with that.
Well, the governor's executive order lifted the requirement that you all meet physically in one location, that a physical quorum be present in order for others to participate remotely, and that you allow the public to attend. It provided a couple of ways of alternate public information. We opted as our primary path was to advise all committees that we wanted to broadcast in real time. And there were a number of reasons for that. I'm not going to go back over. However, when it became apparent that the broadcasting in real time was not going to happen, the board could still proceed because the second portion of the governor's order provided alternative means. And one of those alternative means was the actual recording of the meeting to be posted as soon as practicable thereafter, which it was. There's other alternative means as well. I shan't go into. And yes, we would hope that we could always comply with the primary direction that we'd hope to take, which is broadcasting in real time. But a technical difficulty on the part of TCTV does not prohibit a committee from proceeding as long as they understand they must comply with the governor's executive order in one of those alternate methods, which in this case, the select board did.
Okay.
Sent you out, Mike, the revised or the draft motions that folks may not be able to find readily in the materials they were originally sent.
Yep. Since the complaint, I would help things along by making the motion, but since the complaint was mostly, as you see in your packet, was mostly referenced me, I'd rather not be the one to make the motion.
Chairman, I move to direct the town administrator to provide a response to the open meeting law complaint filed by Mr. May in writing and sent to the complainant and to the Attorney General, along with a copy of the complaint and any action this board has taken to address said complaint.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the open meeting law complaint?
Yes, just a further comment. I believe that, and I understand the citizens, his complaint and his thought about being able to watch it real time and participate. But I believe the intent was there to do it and we had a technical glitch, as we did right at the very beginning of this when TCTV said FaceTime Live or Facebook Live didn't launch the first time. So our intent was there to do it. We just had a technical thing, and we did meet the requirements of the law to record it, and everybody can watch it in real time. It's not like one posting I saw that just basically said closed to the public. There was no recording, no effort at all to have public participation. So while I understand the citizens, complaint and his concerns, our intent was to do it. We just went with the secondary avenue that we had according to the open meeting law revision because of the situation that we have. So I understand it. Doesn't really make me happy, but we did meet the intent, and there is a recording of the meeting. So I'm satisfied with what we did. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Adam, you have your hand up.
No, I just want to bring up also, I totally agree. It was just a technical issue, and we're certainly making sure that we're making sure they're online as much as we can as moving forward. So that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Adam. And furthermore, we've got the motion. We have a second. I think we know what we're going to do with this to close it out, to answer Mr. May's complaint specifically. He had called me out for it, and one thing that I had, and I give this to the rest of the board, we don't meet that often. Our agendas lately have sent us close to 10 o'clock at night. Just as Jeff and Adam had stated, I knew we were going to be in compliance. I did not want to delay the meeting any more than we had to. It is unfortunate that the public did not get to interact, and we try and build that the best way that we can. We just, unfortunately, in that case, the decision to proceed outweighed the flexibility that we had with the way that open meeting law is. And that's all I have. Any other comments? Hearing none on the motion to have Carter basically answer back to the complaint and to direct the town administrator to provide a response to the open meeting law complaint, and with a copy that this board has taken to address that complaint. How do you vote, Julie?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you. Moving on into our agenda. Let's see, we've got Mr. Terenzini. If I skipped over the items E and F that way, because I don't want to, I know that we've got Tom on the line, and we've got, both Toms are on the line. If I can skip over E and F.
E, we have nothing on. You can consider that done, other than 2 transfers pending before the advisory committee tomorrow night. And any adjustments to the article at the annual town meeting, we appear in good shape at this time. I would ask that Tom Harrington, after you've concluded G, stay on the line for F and H.
Okay. Okay, does any of the board have a problem going directly to G and then circling back to F and H? Okay.
I have no issue with that.
Okay, great. Okay, we have a application from JK Crossroads. You have it in your packet. I'm moving to it now. Tom O'Brien is on the line with us. Tom, how are you this evening? Hold on, you're on mute.
How's that?
We can hear you now.
Okay,
How are
great.
you, sir?
Very good. How are you?
Excellent. Adam or Holly, what's the presentation? It's not a hearing or anything. It's just a presentation of the one-day wine and malt license application. But is there anything else with that?
If I could, Holly,
Yep, Adam,
could I just
please.
jump in for a second?
Yep.
Just really quick before Holly kind of takes it from here. Tom O'Brien reached out to our office and had some, I mean, he has a small business in town, and, you know, with all these state restrictions, it's certainly difficult for him and all the other small businesses. So he reached out, and then from there, we had some communication back and forth, and Tom presented a plan, but I'll let Holly take it for the details on the rest of this.
Yeah, Tom submitted his application. I thought he might want to be here tonight to just explain, you know, how many days he wants to have it, what exactly he wants to do. The description was just a little short on there, and that the board might have some questions for him. And
Okay.
Tom Harrington is here to explain kind of the options with whether he has a permit or whether he just does the outdoor extended seating.
Okay. Tom, if you could, for the board, if you could just give a thumbnail sketch of the application and what you're looking to do.
Well, I guess there's two parts now that we've gone into the outdoor seating stage of phase 2. Originally, what I wanted to do is to show drive-in movies in my parking lot and serve food and beverages out there while people were, you know, in their cars, or at least in the, you know, in chairs and with the width of the car, keeping socially distant from each other. Doing that because they couldn't come in here and use my chairs, so basically their vehicles become their tables. So that being said, the other thing that I'm looking at is I have a patio, and my license does cover my patio seating, but it's restricted because of the distance between tables. So I was looking also to put tables outside of that. I would have it roped off and connected to the restaurant. Basically, would be using employee parking spots for a couple of tables.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Diane.
Tom, you would have a couple of tables for the drive-in movie?
No. I was just adding on about the patio seating. I would have a couple of tables outside if I have a fenced-in area. But
Unfortunately, this is only for a one-day wine and malt license application.
well, that's not what I was looking for. I'm looking to run drive-in movies every week. That's why I put on it, and I couldn't put down the dates because there might be rain.
Holly had, that's not what was applied for here.
Well, it's what I've been explaining for almost a month now.
Diane,
Yes,
I have been emailing Tom back and forth, and I was trying to explain to him before the outdoor seating came available that events, the one-day events as we call them, is really the only way for him to be able to do that serving. We could call it, if he's doing 4 days this week, that's 4 one-day permits. The board can always do a small fee, waive the fee, whatever they decide in this time. But so that's why he didn't put dates on there. I think he's going to do it throughout the summer. So it could be a host of them, but there is a 30 maximum, 30 events, 30 days.
so even though it says one day, he could have like 30 events?
Right.
Okay, so pardon me, Tom, for not understanding, so I apologize for that. So Holly, can we do both of what he is asking? Because there are different restrictions I thought there were different restrictions for outdoor seating, being attached to the restaurant, and maybe doing the drive-in movie part. Or am I mistaken about that? Because I just started reading about that today.
No, there are restrictions. I was talking to Attorney Harrington today about that. Basically, if you go ahead, Tom, with these one-day permits, you have to have your liquor purchased separately in a roped-off area, outdoor separate for your bar. It's kind of a big deal. If we skip,
If I could just interject, the rules and regulations for the town and the ABCC weren't written with the pandemic in mind. Okay,
oh no, I completely agree.
This is something, they can't come in here and eat, so I'm taking it out to them.
I know,
And-
I'm trying to give you the two options here. I'll let Attorney Harrington talk about this.
Adam, I do see you that you have your hand up, but I'd like to give the floor to Tom Harrington.
Yeah, Attorney Harrington.
That's fine. I was just gonna add that I talked with Lori Weta. He's good with all the foodstuffs. I just wanted to add that.
Okay.
Okay,
ahead,
take it
Tom.
away.
Yes, please.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Tom Harrington. So I think there's kind of a number of different ways to skin this cat, although I don't think any of them are perfect. So with the new governor's order, the licensed premises, which is obviously the interior of Tom's restaurant and that little patio space, can be expanded in any direction to include additional table services. So if he wants to put tables out in his parking lot, side yard, wherever, and rope it off, that's fine. Table service is allowed there. I don't think we can permit the ability to treat a car as a table. So the ABCC, even during a pandemic, does not allow the service of alcohol to an automobile. The way we could do it is, there's a curbside pickup program that can include wine and beer. So if someone were coming to the movie and wanted to do curbside pickup of their food and wine and beer, they could then go sit in their car and watch the movie. So you can use either of those methods, but I don't think we can get to the place where we say, a waiter can go up to a car and deliver a drink.
Tom, this is Mike. If the people in the vehicle arrive for and I saw some of Tom's explanation, they would be arriving prior to the movie starting. If they come prior to pick up the food, as you said, would they be able to, if Tom's not providing tables, are they able to use their own lawn furniture, tables, chairs, outside their vehicle?
Yeah, absolutely. So in effect, Tom's parking lot becomes kind of a BYOB zone. So, that's allowed under these circumstances. We can treat that like it's BYOB is allowed within his parking lot watching a movie.
Yep. And just a follow up to that, and I know that Mike Bennett, Tom has talked with Mike Bennett, Chief Bennett, about how, here's my plan. What are your thoughts? Chief Bennett was in favor of it, but when he looked up some of the law about the vehicle and a key being in the ignition and a vehicle being designated as a passenger area, the area of the vehicle, he had a concern with making or having alcohol be in the vehicle. And I have to say, Tom, that's my concern. Because in recent memory, I want to protect your patrons. I want you to have your business plan, but I also want to help you protect your patrons. So putting alcohol into a automobile, I think, is a bad idea. That's why I like the way that Tom's basically saying, here's the way that you can still perform your plan without people drinking in a vehicle. Does that make sense? Or does anyone have a feeling on that?
Yeah, I guess I have a question. Attorney Harrington, you said BYOB, but how does that help Tom O'Brien's business if they can't order from him?
No, they can order from him. They could order, a pizza and a 6-pack, pick up the
Oh,
pizza
okay.
and the 6-pack, carry it out back, sit by their car and watch the movie.
Okay, so they can order from him.
They
Yes.
can. Yeah, just
Okay.
it would be the curbside pickup.
That's what we want to do. That's what
Yeah.
we want to help him with.
Yeah, it's the curbside pickup component that allows that to happen.
Oh, okay. So that's most helpful. So does this application cover all that? Does this application cover the BYOB and the movies and the curbside pickup and everything that Mr. O'Brien wants to accomplish?
So I think we can treat this application as an application for a 1-day permit and alternatively an amendment to his license, if the board is so inclined. I think to show a movie, he still may need an entertainment license.
Okay.
But that's pretty straightforward. As far as the BYOB goes, BYOB is allowed unless it's specifically prohibited. And I'm not aware that Templeton specifically prohibits it. So I don't think any extra approval would be required for that component.
Okay.
I would suggest that, Tom, if that's the way we go, I'd suggest you call your insurance company just to make sure that your insurance covers the parking lot as well.
Excellent point. Okay.
Terry,
How is it just allowed to order one, how is the alcohol monitored?
The same way we do it in the restaurant.
Right.
I mean, everyone here that's serving alcohol is tip certified.
Mhm.
And we monitor the same way. It's just, and I know you don't like using the reference, but they're really sitting at a table in a restaurant, except they're outside the building,
They're outside.
in front of their cars. And we wouldn't do it any differently than would if they were in here. So we would monitor it, closely.
What would happen if they brought their own stuff and snuck it in? That's
Then they would be asked to leave.
if you caught them. I just want to consider every aspect.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
please, Carter, go ahead.
I'd like to circle back and ask Attorney Harrington and Tom a question to see if I understand this correctly. And I want to separate the original request for the movies from the expansion of the patio areas.
Okay.
What I'm hearing is that the Board of Selectmen could grant a 1-day permit or grant the entertainment license to Tom for 30 nights. And it's simply carry out. You grant him a license, waive the fee given what situation that's being faced. And anyone that drives in to his parking lot can come up, pick up their pre-ordered food and pick up their beer if they want it and pick up their wine and go back to the car. Mr. Harrington, is that what I heard you say?
It is. I don't think you need to do that under a 1-day permit.
No, but you would issue an entertainment license allowing him to show the movies.
Yeah.
I think we're off the mark because a 1-day license involving alcohol, you've clearly stated that the ABCC would not under any circumstances allow Tom to serve beer or wine or mixed drinks to people while they were in their vehicles.
Agreed.
And that really starts to complicate things because if you expand the license to the entire premises, somebody who's sitting in their pop-up chair could be served beer, wine, or mixed drinks, whereas those who are in their cars could not.
Well, so I think, so I guess I'm drawing a different distinction, Carter. I think the governor expanded the use of table service, but
Gotcha.
I think the table needs to exist. So for Tom to send his waiters out there, there's got to be a table and chairs set up in a roped off area. And those people can receive a menu, can receive a mixed drink, can receive a, a draft beer,
Gotcha.
an open beer. The people in the parking lot are really, they're allowed to watch a movie there with their takeout food.
So circling back, Tom, if you got an entertainment license, fee waived to show your movies, and everybody had to be takeout, that is pre-order the food, and get beer and wine and consume that in their car or in their chairs in the parking lot, would that move you towards, partway towards what you're trying to get done? Would that be of assistance to you?
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. That would be a big assistance to it.
Then, Mr. Chairman, any application lacking, I would encourage the select board. Tom, how many nights did you want to do this?
The drive-in movies would probably just be, once a week, so it's.
Holly, if I might, is there a limit, when we grant an entertainment license, is there a limit on the number of days?
As far as I know, just for entertainment, there's no limit. It's the alcohol license that has
Okay.
the limit.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to suggest that we parse this and that absent any formal application, which Tom could come in and backfill out with Holly in the next a day or two or three, I would encourage the board to grant an entertainment license to the establishment for the showing of movies and the viewing of them from his parking lot area with the waiving of any required fee.
So moved.
Second.
I just have a question.
Mr. Chairman,
Hey, Terry, Julie, please go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to chirp in here. The only concern, there's two concerns that I have. The location obviously is going to be a concern, and the size. And I'm a little mixed on the whole entertainment piece. If 10, 18-year-olds are in a vehicle and they show up to watch a movie, what are we doing here? I'm a little confused with that, with all of the pandemic situation. I mean, we can't even sit 6 people apart for a Board of Selectmen meeting. And where we're at a 4 corners that has a history of difficult traffic patterns, that's my biggest concern. I definitely want to support the local business. I really do. I just want to make sure that everyone's covered here. I think that's my biggest concern. When you mix in the wine and the beer and the vehicles and the movie and that kind of thing, I get a little concerned about the location that this is going to be happening at. That's all. I have a concern with that, I guess.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Tom, any rebuttal before I go to Terry?
No, we would constantly be reminding people, to socially distance themselves. We have signs, reminders, to stay apart. And people that come together in a vehicle, they're already in the vehicle together, so that's not going to be a problem. It's just staying away from the neighbors.
Thank you, Tom.
Right. I understand
Terry?
that.
My question would be for Mr. Harrington. BYOB, is that going to be described? Because BYOB youth, that's,
It's not BYOB.
well, that's what Mr. Harrington was saying.
It said in effect.
So yeah, and Tom, I get it. You're not going to allow other people
Bring in
bring
anything.
their own alcohol,
Right.
right? And nor should you. But in this instance, since we're not licensing his premises, it becomes an area where people are allowed to bring their own alcohol to drink. Because Tom owns it, he can control that. He can say, buy it at my store, come out to the parking lot, watch a movie. So he can control that. But, we're not really creating that. I think he's entitled to do that.
Is there a different terminology? That just seems like we're opening up
Guests.
trouble.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me think about that.
If I
I
might,
don't have it on the top of my head, but we'll think of something.
if I might, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Carter.
I really don't think we need to struggle with it because would be granting him an entertainment license with the understanding that anyone that's there for the movie is going to buy their food at the takeout. We're not creating a new restaurant that's, we're saying you don't need a license because it's BYOB. I mean, Tom grabbed onto that phrase to try to explain what's going on, but I'm not sure that it really enters into the board's licensing, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, they're
Chairman?
guests. And once they pick up their food, it's his private property. They're remaining as guests to watch a film and consume the food that they've properly purchased from JK Crossroads.
And I might suggest, Mr. Chairman, and Tom might even, because of the concerns of the chief, in order to have a good, successful event, might even hold on to their keys so there's nothing in the ignition. I mean, that might be a service he could provide them while they're enjoying their, whether it be a Rolling Rock or, an ultralight.
Mr. Chairman,
Best of luck with that, Tom.
So Carter, I mean, all joking aside, I do know that the chief is very read up on this request and otherwise. I think a lot of people are, maybe it's a really good thing. I think you were generating a lot of buzz for movie night, but I can say that the Chief Bennett is aware of what the concerns are, much to what town council said about ABCC's purview of it. What the police look for is if you're consuming alcohol within a vehicle. They are 100% read up on that aspect, which is my greatest concern. I think it's fantastic that we were able to kind of come together, talk through this, and actually get to a point where legally and town-wise, we were able to support Tom's innovation. I've used that word when talking about this thing because our businesses have to innovate. And the fact that they've got to, I'm sorry that you had to jump through, a bunch of hoops, Tom, but I'm glad that we were able to try and figure out and move forward with it. The patio stuff, I think that one's an easy one. There are guidelines for that and whatever we need to do. I don't even know if he complies with the patio guidelines, then I think he's good with that. I had another business owner, Karen Osterberg. She's the owner of Crows in the Common, and she had a similar question about whether she could use her picnic tables. And ABCC mentioned to me, or mentioned to her that she'd have to reach out to the authority. But as long as you're complying with the patio guidelines, you're meeting the intent. Is that correct, Mr. Harrington?
It is.
Okay. Thank you, Karen, for the question online. Is there any further discussion on the entertainment license? Yes, Diane.
so only half of Julie Richards' question was answered and the other half was not. So I would also have a concern about underage drinking. And I just wanted to know from Mr. O'Brien, when somebody comes to pick up their curbside pickup, do you card them?
We would handle any purchase of alcohol the same way that we do it in here. If someone looks underage, they would be carded.
Like if you're not really allowed to go out in the parking lot, and like if you see a bunch of people like drinking in their car, are you allowed to card them?
Absolutely.
Oh, you are?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Okay. Does that answer your question, Julie?
I'm sorry. Yes, it does to some degree.
Okay.
My only concern was that it doesn't get, people parking on the sides of the road and watching a movie, and I just, as long as it's going to be controlled, and I totally agree with Mike Curry on this. As long as he's following all of the stipulations that are out there, and the chief of police, is obviously going to be aware of, you know, his entertaining coming up. So I'm sure that there'll be people in the area, you know. If there should become a concern or there's confusion there, I would think that, you know, things will be taken care of swiftly.
I think that Tom is a good business owner and there's not, to my knowledge,
Absolutely.
there's not been any problems there at all. So I was just really I wanted your question to be answered, and I definitely think this is a great idea, and, you know, definitely to, you know, I want to support you, Tom, and, you know, I just wanted Julie's question answered. So
And clearly, it's a very small parking lot that, you know, measuring it off, maybe 15 cars at the most. So we're not talking about a lot of people.
Right.
And
That's
it's-
what I'm thinking. It will be a smaller crowd than I'm visually.
And it'll be, you know, encouraged to make reservations for this, because, you know, you just can't have a bunch of people showing up for it. And I mean, I would be there to turn anyway, because I only want, you know, like 15 cars tops.
Is there a way to measure the capacity? You know how they measure the capacity of the stores at 40%? Is there a way to measure the capacity of a parking lot?
Well, I've measured the parking lot, and keeping people's cars 6 feet apart. 15 is about the maximum I could possibly get in there if I angle them the right way. And it's not, and I do the parking, you know, I'll have people set up where I tell them to set up. So I don't want it to be over. I still want people to be able to, you know, it's not like it's the Gardner Drive-In. The screen is, you know, not going to be a 50-foot pole. I want
Tom,
people to see it.
the good thing is I will definitely support that activity, but I'll probably walk down with my lawn chair.
Okay.
All right, let's move this along. This is all very good discussion, but I think we're coming to that culmination point.
Just,
Is there any further questions or discussions? Yes, Jeff, go ahead.
just one quick thing. I think as far as the underage drinking, he's going to have more control over it with it being at his business, because a 21-year-old can go pick up food for 8 people, a 12-pack of beer, and go home, and you lose all control. You don't know who they're giving it to. So, and he has a small parking lot. He has more control over it there than he does just giving takeout to take home off premises. So I support this 100%, and I don't anticipate any problems noise-wise or anything. Like you said, 15, 20 cars tops, it would be, you know, pushing it. And if there's issues with people stopping on the side of the road, a quick patrol by the police to move them along, and I don't see any problem with this at all.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Oh, just in his defense, he is taking reservations, so that's good management.
Well, if you look at the YouTube comments, he's got a lot of supporters that have given him some kudos online, so that's good as well. Anything further? All right, hearing none, on the motion for the fee-waived entertainment license for JK Crossroads, paperwork to be filed forthwith and to comply with all ABCC published patio and other guidance otherwise. How do you vote, Julie?
Yes.
Adam, we're right in the middle of a vote. Is that,
I think your motion, I thought you were going to waive the fee.
I
Should that
said
be
fee
part of the
waived.
motion? Okay, just making sure.
Yep, I did say fee waived. Continuing on with the vote, Jeff,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes,
Diane,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Tom, good luck. I agree with Jeff.
Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Yep, go ahead.
Do you think that Tom might have a few minutes to stay on, both Toms, but for H, which concerns specifically the opportunity to expand his patio areas and to add some additional outside service areas? I think the perspective of a local businessman, in addition to that of town council, could prove valuable to the board.
Yep, and Crows in the Common is watching on the YouTube channel. She's made a couple of comments, so she may be able to chime in as well. Go ahead, please.
when the ABCC issued these new guidelines about being able to expand your outdoor areas, it made some provisions to lighten the load, but it did not do away, and Tom Harrington will jump in here and save me where I run afoul, but it did not do away with the requirement for a hearing. There has to be a formal application and there has to be a hearing. So knowing what Tom, witnessing what he'd gone through, I asked Tom Harrington, well, come up with some quick and easy way. We can't have a situation where a business wants to do this, then they have to file an application, then they have to wait 2 weeks for the board, especially in the summertime when there's only one meeting in July. How can we do this quick and easy? So there's a letter in your package from Attorney Harrington that makes a suggestion. It's effectively a two-step process. Step one, if agreeable to the board, is I would send a letter out to all of our all liquor, our pouring license holders that says, hey, here's this new ABCC rules, and we want to try to have a fairly simple process by which you give us a bare application. We'd have to tell them what it needs to be in. Please have them all into us by close of business on June 22. You'd have your hearing on the evening of June 24, and hopefully you would see your way clear to letting the administrator flesh out all the details, so that we can try to move this along as quickly as possible. Now, if anyone didn't think they wanted to do that at this point, then they'd have to wait and go through the lengthier filing a formal application and doing all of those things. I'd like to ask Tom Harrington to speak to his letter, and then ask Tom of Crossroads to see what he thinks, or would he rather wait and see how business goes and then file a more detailed application. If that's agreeable, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have Tom Harrington on his memo, and then Tom of Crossroads on the concept.
Yes, absolutely. Tom first, and we've got Tom O'Brien still with us, and Diana Graham from Baldwinville Station is also online. So we have a pretty good representation of some of those businesses out there if they care to chime in. Tom, please. Thank you.
Thank you again. So, there was several kind of relief packages issued, and they're all good and all somewhat dissatisfying. And so I think the idea that the ABCC has come up with is good to allow us to expand the premises upon which alcohol can be served kind of in any direction outside. And they've waived notice requirements, and they've waived hearing requirements and the like. What I don't think they did, well, no, they waived notice requirements. I think a hearing is still required, because I don't see that it's specifically waived. So I think what the best way to do this under Carter's plan to kind of get these through quickly is to, get as many kind of initial applications as we can for your next meeting, have the board vote on all those applications at once to say, and if they're ready to go, you can approve them right then. If they're not ready to go and the restaurant owners just submitted placeholders, you could approve them subject to final review and signature by Carter. So that takes it out of your meeting calendar and puts it into daytime government's hands, where they could act on it as soon as they get the right materials. And the part two is these applications all do still need to comply with the ABC's patio rules. So there needs to be, I think we need to see a demonstration that they've thought about that, and that we see the layout, and that we know things are roped off appropriately, and the rest of the requirements that are associated with the patio rules.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. I put up that memorandum while you were speaking, just as a primer for people understanding what the framework was that you were taking a look at. As Carter had asked, Tom or those watching on the live stream, do you have any impact statements, or do you have any ideas on that?
On my personal situation, when I initially applied for the application 10 years ago, it was the section where my patio is now, the entire area was approved for outside dining. I decided to use a portion of it so I could continue to park cars. So it's actually been approved. But what I'm proposing is that some tables outside, and I would then rope off the area to make to make sure people knew what the area was. It's just not a free for all. You can't go up on the grass. You can't go under the trees or up by the monument or anything. Just to know that you have to stay inside, that particular area. It's a matter of, I want to say about 9 feet, but it would allow a couple of more tables.
Right.
But it will definitely be sectioned off, and people will know it's going to be defined.
Great, thanks for that, Tom. Any questions for the board, or any impressions on that? This is something that we can vote on tonight.
I think it's something that we can vote on tonight. I don't think we have to wait. I mean, guidelines have come out, and I think it would be better for the businesses in town for it to be an expedited process. I mean, the sooner they can get down to business, the better for them. I mean, it's a good way for us to help them.
I couldn't agree with you more.
If I might, Mr. Chairman.
Actually, can I have Terry first? She had her hand up.
Apologies.
I don't know if I missed it, but I just had a quick question about who enforces the government requirements. Like, how do we make sure the rules are being?
That's a good question. So we're the local licensing authority. Our police force basically is the eyes and ears. Health department for those sorts of things. They bring. I don't know if you remember. I think it was about 6 months ago. We had an infringement, or not? We had an infraction that was witnessed, and they came in. Even if I could remember who it was, probably not a great thing to re-mention them. But there was an infraction that the police saw, brought it to us. We gave them a quick fine. They understood what the problem was. They said they'd never do it again. But that was basically that exercising of the local licensing authority. Does that help?
Thank you.
Yep. Carter, please.
I wanted to double down on what Diane said. We can't change the rules of the road. They do have to make an application. That application, either in its initial form or in its subsequent fleshed out form, has to conform to all the guidelines. My interest here was in trying to find a way to show the business community that we are sensitive to their issues, and to get this thing out there and to give them a real quick, very short window to get this thing started, as opposed to having to sit back and wait for the longer, more detailed. Now, if somebody doesn't come in that first round, then yes, they'll have to go through the other more protracted routes. But I'm just looking for some way to shave some time off this for those businesses that are interested in this approach.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Julie.
I move that the staff be directed to contact all on-premise liquor licenses to notify them of the hearing regarding the ABCC advisory and possible temporary extension of licensed premises to outdoor areas being held on June 24th, 2020, with applications due by 9 a.m. June 22nd, 2020. In the interest of expediting any and all such requests, and to include directions to the license holders to understand the basic initial requirements needed in order for the select board to act on said application.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Let's go into some discussion. Adam, you had your hand up?
Yeah, to Carter's point, I just wanted to also add, you're not going to have as many meetings in July and August as well, so.
Right, I haven't even seen a draft of our FY21 meeting. I know that we usually, Diane, correct me if I'm wrong, or Julie, but we usually take vacations in July. I know that this is 2020. Nothing normal is happening, so.
That is correct for July, but I don't remember anything about August like that, not having a meeting in August. That's way too long to go.
Mr. Chairman, it's the draft schedule, I believe, subject to correction by Holly, only shows the month of July. But in any event, we're looking to try to find some way to expedite this, even if you were on your regular schedule.
Understood. We've done that before. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion that the staff be directed to contact all on premise liquor licenses, and they're going to act on June 24th with applications due by 9 a.m. 22nd, and that they understand the basic initial requirements needed in order for the local licensing authority, the select board, to act on said applications. How do you vote, Julie?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you. Tom, are you hanging on for one more item? Tom Harrington?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, you've got business on one more thing that we'll move to next. Otherwise, Tom O'Brien, I think you got what you came for. I think that's fantastic. A couple of your fellow entrepreneurs and business owners are with you online, Baldwinville Station and Crows in the Common. They asked in the chat for a couple of items that I've already actioned on.
Could I say good luck to all the business owners?
Yes,
We
good
really
luck.
support you.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. All right, I'm going to circle back to our agenda, and I believe the next item that we have is the foreclosed tax title property. Did I get the right one, Tom and Carter?
Yep.
Okay, take it away.
So first, my apologies to the board. Jeff was right to call me up short on the not notifying the board when that 10 Pleasant Street was foreclosed. Unfortunately, I don't have the same encyclopedic knowledge of the bylaws as Jeff does. And while we were looking at a possible sale, I was used to it being sold by the collector. So my apologies on that. However, once we realized that, we started to do some look-see, and I spent some time with Tom Harrington, and we had a series of questions. And so just setting the stage here, you currently have 13 properties. 3 actually had been sold. The records were incorrect. That brought you down to 10. Of those 10 parcels, Luann spent some time with me today. Some had been misnamed, some had been mislabeled, but we've now located on the tax mapping where everything is. So you have 10 parcels. 2 of those we actually believe the town should keep in its long-term interests, and 1 we believe the town should hold for the time being for economic development. That leaves you with 7 parcels to sell. So moving on to an actual sale, the bylaw provides that the select board may sell the parcels by auction. So on the second page of the memo, we simply, Tom and I talked about what does auction mean? Does it mean, that what you think of with the banging of a gavel or a sealed bid? In short, it can be either. Must the auctioneer be licensed? So in some communities, we've just had, a member of the community in good standing. In others, we've used licensed auctioneers. Tom's advice is the that the auctioneer need not be licensed, but he recommends we not act without a licensed auctioneer, given their particular knowledge of posting and notification requirements. Additionally, efforts may enhance the sales price. So here comes the big one. May we set conditions upon the sale? Bottom line, I'm not going to bother to go through it in detail, is you cannot set the conditions on the sale. Under the statute, as Tom explains it to me, when it's tax deeded property, you sell it. It's an absolute auction. You get what you get. If you want to do something different, you would have to get town meeting approval of parcel by parcel. So if you want to offer it, let's say abutters have right of first refusal, you can offer it that way, but once you sell it, then town meeting has to authorize the sale of parcel XYZ. I think that, the rest of the memo really kind of comes back to those questions. I'd like to ask Tom to speak on the difference between the blanket approval you have to sell at an absolute price, an absolute auction, versus the hoops we have to go through to have any conditions. And then perhaps we could return to the 3 questions that I posed in my memo, if that's agreeable, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, please. And then
Okay.
I do have, after Tom, I do have a public question from an abutter about Pleasant Street. So we can take that question after. Thank you, Tom. Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, so statutes are very strict on this sort of thing. When we're auctioning off property acquired through tax title, it's an absolute auction. You're selling every interest that you acquired, and that's quite clear. There are towns who have various programs in place, for instance, where any tax title is first offered to abutters at a reduced price, with the understanding that the abutters either won't build on it or won't use it to create a second building lot. So in that case, the idea is to get the property back on the tax rolls, but not create these kind of oddball lots. Get it in the hands of an abutter when it can be in the hands of an abutter. And it works quite well. The problem with that, or at least maybe the complexity with that, is that it does need to go through town meeting vote. So if there was a property on Pleasant Street and it lay between 10 and 12 Pleasant Street, and both abutters wanted it, it literally becomes kind of a high bid situation between those 2 abutters. Moving forward, though, the town meeting can decide that it won't be used for building purposes, or you can even go further with that, and use it for wetlands protection or anything. I mean, town meeting has the right to do kind of anything they want with that parcel. It's just getting it on the town meeting cycle so that, it's always going to take you at least a year. And that's the typical process in other towns that I know do this. Is, they're identifying the properties in the summer, they're shopping them in the fall to see who might want to pick them up, and then town meeting is approving or disapproving in the spring.
Tom, my question on that, if we're doing just a straight auction,
Yeah.
that's the town's prerogative to do that, and that doesn't have to go to town meeting if you're just doing a straight sale.
Right.
You're talking about if there had to be any kind of change, whether it's a zone change, a butter splitting it up, or change in use, or any kind of consideration. That's what triggers it to go to town meeting.
Right. So I guess if you think of the property rights are a bundle of sticks. There's 17 sticks in the bundle, and those sticks signify, the right to build a house, the right to park a car, and anything else.
Mhm.
So whenever we're selling property at tax title, we're taking all the sticks and giving them to whoever bought them.
Right.
If we want to retain one of those sticks, like the right to build a house, we
Yep.
need town meeting approval to authorize us to hold on to that particular stick. If that makes sense.
Well, one of the sticks would be the right to build a house. I mean, if someone's going to buy a property, they buy it by auction. Isn't that an assumption that they could then use that land to purchase, to build a house?
It depends. It might not be big enough to build a house. You know, it might be oftentimes, and I think part of the problem is, you know, lots of these tax title lots are oddball lots in that they're either not big enough or they don't have sufficient frontage, or they're, you know, covered in wetlands. So there might be an impediment to building a house on it, which is why they kind of fell into tax title to begin with, because there just wasn't the value there. I think what I'm saying though is, you know, if you did have a really nice building lot that you acquired, you could, with town meeting approval, say, we'll sell it to neighbor A or neighbor B, but you can't build on it. So we're not selling this as a building lot. We're selling it kind of as open space.
I understand. So there is, I first,
Mr.
when you
Chairman, if I might?
explained, yep, just 1 second, Carter. When you first explained it, I looked at it going to town meeting as a restriction or slowing down the process, but it actually, it does increase the time, but it then is the mechanism by which you can actually, the town gets what it needs out of it if it's going to retain it, or whoever's purchasing is able to. Okay, I understand that. Go ahead, Carter.
So let me talk about the kinds, expand a little bit on the kinds of things that Tom was speaking of. So it's not uncommon in many communities to either, before they're put out to bid or when they're put out to bid, offer a first right of refusal to abutters. That's one. In many communities, even after the abutter buys it, they're required to merge it with their own lands. The object being to try to improve compliance with zoning. Sometimes there's no building allowed on it. Sometimes the town would sell the lot, but perhaps with the preservation of a 15-foot drainage easement. In the case of buildings, such as Pleasant Street, we've often put properties out to sale with a requirement that, in addition to the price of the property, you're going to put in escrow a certain number of dollars, which you don't get back until you either have demolished the premises,
right,
or done substantial rehabilitation.
right.
All of those things would require, prior to the passing of a deed, the formal action by town meeting, parcel by parcel of whatever those restrictions would need to be. So where we really need to start from tonight, we have 10 properties. We would bring you a list of those that we think we should keep, those we think should hold, and those we think you should sell. And upon action on that list, we then need a decision from you as to whether or not you want to do this on a timeline that hopefully hits the fall town meeting for those individual actions that Tom was speaking of, or do you want to sell them at an absolute auction to simply try to get these off your books?
I understand exactly what you're saying. Is 10 Pleasant part of that group of 10?
Here it is.
Okay. There was a question about that you've already answered. Tracy Tallman, who is an abutter, asked the question, whatever the towns decide as an abutter, am I notified?
We certainly, whenever I've done these in the past, whether I've done them auction, sealed bid, I always send a copy of the advertisement to abutters. So
Now, what you just said was that abutters would get right of first refusal. Is that the case here?
No, so let's first go back to the question, which is when they go for sale, would abutters get notification? The answer to that is absolutely yes. So now let's talk about would abutters get right of first refusal? only if you are prepared to wait and to sell these on a timeline, and the prospective buyers are willing to wait. Because you've got to put it out there for sale, you've got to get your bids, and then you've got to go to town meeting to get parcel by parcel action on any parcel that has less than 100% of the sticks being conveyed to the buyer. If you are conveying the entire bundle of sticks, as Tom has described it, you simply have an absolute auction, and Tom prepares a deed and you sell it to the party for whatever they paid. You are not able to retain any rights or place any restrictions upon the sale. Tom, am I explaining that correctly?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Diane.
I'm concerned about not having a bundle of sticks, because if we look at Pleasant Street, it's an eyesore and it needs to come down. So with no restrictions on that property could stay there forever.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, absolutely, Carter, because that really ties into one of the questions that we had on the chat. Even just to kind of war game through for the purposes of our discussion now, what a property like 10 Pleasant Street, what could occur?
and that becomes the difference between an absolute auction, which you can do, highest bidder gets it, no delays, and you're done, versus a conditioned sale, which requires town meeting action. So the question really becomes, yes, it's boarded, it's been posted, and you sell it for an auction, somebody buys it. It's not uncommon. I've seen it across the Commonwealth. A community sells a structure and then it sits there, and then the community has to continue to deal with that eyesore, and the public body that authorized its sale but didn't get it torn down or redeveloped ends up with that public relations burden for years to come.
Yeah, and that's not a good idea. We've already been dealing with that public relations burden.
Can I ask a stupid question? Is it economically feasible to get something at auction? What does 10 Pleasant sit on, like an acre or 3/4 of an acre? And that it's a huge structure that we just don't build anything like that. Who would buy that structure and then not do anything with it? Why is that a common thing you've seen, Carter?
Best laid plans gone awry is what I would simply say.
They run out of money or something.
Somebody has a great idea, and they'd never been inside the building. They really hadn't thought it through. They run out of money. The economy turns down. Zoning only allows it to be rebuilt if it's been damaged up to 25%. This place was damaged up to 75%. There's just a wide range of best laid plans gone awry.
Sometimes it's not worth it to do things in a speedy manner. I believe that we need all the sticks. It's unfortunate that it will be a lengthier process, but I looked at some of the properties, but I didn't look them up. So I don't know what the other properties look like, but 10 Pleasant Street is a PR nightmare.
Yeah, I like the way that Tom Harrington
And people
described it.
asked me about that and I didn't follow up. So I
like the way-
apologize for that.
I'm sorry, Diane, I was talking over you.
Well, I said people asked me about 10 Pleasant Street, and at the time, it was still under someone else's ownership, and we couldn't do anything about it, but I didn't know it was foreclosed upon.
Yeah.
Someone
And
else
Amanda-
told me that.
And when I had put out, Amanda Susie's helping me out with what the amount of land, it's just over a 1/4 of an acre. I like the way that Tom Harrington described how municipalities make it part of their process. They look at it in terms of, we're in summertime, we want to try and get something to fall. I think if we have a prescribed process, if the board basically thinks through and says, for, to maintain this metaphor of the sticks, as long as we're taking a look at what they are and making the decisions for how Carter wants to present this stuff, I like the fact that we have the ability to go back, but to be able to have the education to understand this one's going to require some better thought, more sticks. Over.
If I might, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Carter.
I think that a way to move this along would be a decision of the board this evening. And let me walk you through a couple steps. Decision number one really becomes, do you wish to sell these at an absolute auction simply to get rid of these as quickly as you can? And that's one direction. The second is, are you more interested in selling them under a set of possible conditions which you understand have to go to town meeting? I think if you make that the decision between those two choices, I can then move you on to the next step that we would suggest you take to help move you down that path.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Diane.
I make a motion that we sell these with a set of conditions, to sell these properties with a set of conditions of knowing that they have to go to town meeting.
Diane, could I amend that slightly? I don't think Carter was saying make a decision on selling, but it's basically preparing a course of action based on absolute auction or conditional based auction.
Okay, so I make a motion that we make decisions based on conditional
Auction.
auction and not absolute auction.
Second. I know, Carter, you probably just wanted, I mean, we can give you a motion. You were probably,
That's frankly a sense of direction, as long as I know the consensus of the board meets my needs, and then I would tell you the next step that I would do for your next meeting.
all right, we have a motion to at least give you, to help you, we haven't voted yet, but to help you give a direction. But I seconded it because I do believe, so we have a motion and a second for discussion. I'll just say, I would hate to be able to move fast and then have it not move far enough and then have homeowners, affected abutters or otherwise, left with, our inaction or our short-sightedness. So I do think that having, again, to maintain this metaphor, having all of our sticks is a much better plan than moving fast and just getting it off of our plate for someone else that may not be as, moral, or have as much resources. Over.
I agree. And having a regular routine that every summer we look at this and take it to town meeting in the fall, that seems well organized and a good way to go.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Julie.
I'm just thinking, I agree with the possibility of number two. I personally have not done enough homework with the properties or the lands that are on the list. So I'm not sure, do we have to do a vote tonight? I'm thinking we have to do some homework
So,
before it comes up for a vote, but I could be wrong.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Go ahead,
that would be the second step. If I know that you want to sell them with conditions, I would then prepare a package for you for your meeting of 24 June, and I can describe to you what that package would be. If that's the direction you want to go in, you can still back up. But before we went to that effort to put that package together, we were looking for a clear indication as to whether you simply wanted to sell them and be done, or to look at this conditioned sale approach.
Okay, thank you, Carter.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none on the motion to use a conditional based approach for auction rather than a absolute approach. How do you vote, Julie?
Yes,
Where did he go? Oh, he's not there. I think Jeff's been having some technical difficulty. Terry,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Just for the record, the online discussion, sometimes it can be a little bit delayed, but between Tracy Tallman and Amanda Susie, they had just talked about some specific things about 10 Pleasant Street. Tracy Tallman would love to give it to the fire department for training, and Amanda was talking about all of the different kinds of issues in making that a saleable and buildable property. Tom, thank you very much for hanging with us this evening.
Good to see you all. I look forward to seeing y'all next week.
Absolutely.
take care, Tom, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Night.
Night.
Okay. I
So,
played
Mr.
havoc with our agenda. Go ahead,
Mr.
Charles.
Chairman, if I can, just to Julie's point, with this knowledge, we'll now prepare a fairly simple Excel spreadsheet, giving you parcel map, general location, and a designation of what we should believe should be a seller, a keeper, or a holder. If we believe it should be sold, we would, with conditions, we would explain to you what we think those conditions would be. So for instance, right of first refusal to abutters might be one, some other things. And on the Pleasant Street property, an escrow of some amount of money, not to be released until demolition had been completed or rehabilitation had been commenced, would be the type of ideas we would put on that list. If we think it should be kept, we'd explain why. If we think it should be held, we would explain why. Attached to that would be a possible timeline to try to get this done in time for fall town meeting, and the property record cards for each property, so that you would have a full packet of material for your consideration on 6/24.
Thank you, Carter.
That sounds perfect. I'm sorry, was there a question for Carter or just a comment?
Sorry, that was just a comment. I appreciate that, Carter.
Me too. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
saying that too, Julie, about seeing the properties. That's important too.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I show we are at 8:27 and we are on to item 5I. 5I, I is in India, and that is the sale. Let me make sure I get the right. I believe it's Churchill. It's the sale of lands to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Specifically, it is area known as Churchill Road.
So, Mr. Chairman, last meeting, the board issued a notice of taking on this parcel. We did finally find that deed, but town council, out of an abundance of caution, had you issue that taking notice, and that land is the property of the town of Templeton. This now is the sale of that property to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is the second of two parcels that the town was authorized to sell. The first one, we got around 13,000 in some short change. This one will get 14,000 and some short change. So a total sale price of 27. Because of the complexity of the titles and all of our interactions with the Commonwealth, we will have poured some considerable legal monies into it, but we'll still be disposing of two parcels that we've not had any use for, be making in the upper teens on a net basis. And this helps complete that total package of 500 acres of land to be held in conservation that we've been working on. I think, oh golly, Mike, maybe even before you came on the board. I think this is over a year now. Perhaps Diane might remember better.
Yeah, I do have a question about this deed. The address is 251 Causeway Street, Suite 600 to 900 in Boston.
Mhm. Yep,
No,
that's who we're selling it to.
that's who we're, oh, so I read this wrong. Okay,
That's the address of the buyer.
okay. So other than that, everything else looked right.
The only thing is that when we get the final order and the Mylar recorded, we have to have that actual book and page on the first page of the deed. Those
Yeah,
would then be filled in, but you'll
Yeah.
notice that that's separate from the second page where all the signature lines are.
yeah,
We are attempting, it may be challenging, but both we and the state are attempting to get this done by June 30. That was the date for their challenge grant. And we're attempting to get the money in during this fiscal year. I cannot assure you of that, but we'll certainly do what we can.
okay. All right, everything else looked good. And this has been a long time coming.
It is
Yeah, it really has.
how many
Mr.
hours
Chairman?
poured into this.
Julie would remember too.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, way too many. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Julie.
I move to authorize the sale of map 3-07 parcel 58 to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as authorized under Article 16 of the annual town meeting of May 16, 2019.
And I second that motion.
Excellent. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the sale of that property to the state? Hearing none on the motion for the sale of the property to the state, Churchill Road. How do you vote? Terry,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes,
and I vote yes as well. Great. Okay, we're going to move on to item 5J. J as in Juliet, and that is the lease of the Templeton Elementary School to NRSD. Carter.
This has been a long time in the making. We've been working on this for close to a year. The document has gone back and forth with numerous drafts on the regional school district side. Superintendent Cassavant, their counsel, and Chairman Hughes have been involved in this. We had an earlier executive session on this matter. I'm not sure how much I can add. If there are any questions that have occurred to the board since that related to it, I'd certainly be happy to try to answer them. But we would encourage you to move forward and to try to get this one across the finish line.
Mr. Chairman,
Go for it, Diane.
I move to approve the final draft dated June 9, 2020 of the lease of the Templeton Elementary School to the Narragansett Regional School District for their execution.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on forwarding this approved draft of the lease for Templeton Elementary School to the Narragansett Regional School District? Hearing nothing further on that motion, how do you vote, Julie?
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes,
and I vote yes as well. Hallelujah. Okay, the last item that we have. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just said
Last item.
amen.
Absolutely. Thanks, Julie. All right, the last item that we have on new business this evening is license fees. And either Adam or Carter, if you want to go through that, I will. I got to rotate the document and then I will go ahead and broadcast it.
Our financial management policies call that every year on a rotating basis, different departments will look at their fee structures, do a survey, and determine if they are appropriate. I'll let Holly speak to any particulars of the survey, but there you have the different towns, what we're currently charging, what we propose to charge. This was part of your budget book. And we would ask for your approval. The difference between what we would have done in February and today is we're asking that it not be effective until July 1 of 2021. So that means that the first real meaningful impact on local business would not be felt until the payment of their 2022 license fees, which they would pay in November and December. Yes, there might be a little tweak here or there. Somebody might hit mid-year, but this becomes effective July 1, 2021. So their first payment is November, October of 2021 for their business year of calendar 2022. If there's any questions on the survey itself or how we came to settle upon those, I would defer that to Holly as she did the work and compiled the grid for you.
Holly, any impressions, or do you just want to field any questions from the board?
Yeah, I'll take questions. Basically, I polled the towns that were in our comparative town list, and a lot of our fees are quite a bit lower. And I think we increased them to a fair amount.
I think all these fees look reasonable. And I would make a motion that we accept these fees as presented.
Second.
Effective.
Effective
date.
July 1, effective July 1, 20. I'm sorry,
21.
Carter, what date?
2021.
2021. Sorry, I lost my head there for a second.
That also aligns with what you have done with respect to the tax collector's request on the demand fees. Given the environment, we've gone ahead and recommended the adoption of the changes, but pushed it out a little bit in time for the economy to recover better.
Okay, so Diane had an amended, she amended the date. Julie, I think that you did a second. Do you still second that motion?
I do second that motion, yes.
Excellent, okay. All right, discussion. Just for those, for everyone that's online on Zoom right now, you can see that I'm broadcasting the table. For those watching on the recording or in the live stream, you can see that the blue signifies what we charge now, and the column underneath it would be the proposed. So when you look at those two columns and you take into account all of those, the minimum, maximum, average, and the surrounding communities, that's what you can use to kind of gauge the approach to it. In some cases that you will see, it's a stepped approach. So adopting this table, it may be for 1 July, but there are some stipulations for how it would go higher in 2022 and 2023.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Diane,
could I please have this table reflected in the minutes?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, I have no online comments about it. Any other board comments? All right, hearing nothing further on the motion to adopt the license fee survey as stipulated in the blue column, and then any stepped increases afterwards, but these proposed fees would be effective 1 July of 2021. How do you vote, Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, that brings us to the end of our new business this evening. I see on our agenda that we have no old business. Before I go to board and staff member comments and or reports.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Diane.
Are we not going to discuss the universal deed rider for day mill townhouses? You not have that on your agenda?
Which one am I looking at? Is
That
that
came
on?
out as the amended agenda, I believe on Monday.
Okay, what item is it?
L,
L, okay. I'm looking at the one from my Wednesday, quote unquote, Wednesday email, so I apologize for that. Diane, you pulled that from the calendar item?
Yeah, I got it as I went into the office and I got it as a separate packet.
Okay,
It's just
okay, just wanted to make sure. All right, I'm sorry, under item L, who is briefing that? I'm a little bit ill-prepared for that.
well,
Sorry.
in simplest terms, we have deed riders on the affordable housing units at Day Mill. And it requires that they attempt to sell the property to income eligible buyers. And if they can't do that, they come to us and we have the right of first refusal. And we are not able to execute that at this point. So they sell it at an open market price. Now, they have to pay a share of the uptick in the value of the property, but that doesn't do anything for us at the end of the day in terms of preserving affordable housing. We have the housing trust. We hope the town will fund under the annual town meeting, but that's a good ways away before we can put anything in place. What CHAPA has suggested is an alternative deed rider, which would first require somebody to try to sell it to an income eligible person. And if they can't, they could sell it to anybody at the market affordable housing price, provided that person agreed to have the deed restriction that they have to try to market it to an income eligible person down the road. So you're saying, well, okay, great. Why would a buyer be willing to do that? The reason is because instead of the price being, up here as a market price, standard market price, they can buy it down here as the affordable housing price, and they're pushing that stone down the road themselves. We've just gotten this on Monday, quite frankly. We haven't had a lot of opportunity to really review it and understand it. But it is of some interest to us at the staff level. Luann, who tracks all this at the assessor level, thinks it's important, and we wanted to get this on your radar screen as quickly as we could.
Mr. Chairman. Oh, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Diane, sorry.
So I think this, I like the fact that this is in your radar, and I'm not going to be here to discuss this any further with you, but I did want to put in my 2 cents. I did read this, and it looks like it's something that this board should consider, not in my time, but in the next board's time. I think that it's worth it to preserve affordable housing, and we need it here. But if I remember correctly, we received an email that Luann maybe didn't have time to go over this with her board and needs the time to do so, but she did think that this was a good idea. So I think that this board should push this off until another meeting, until you all have some time to read it, and you need time to talk about it and do a little bit more research. So I've seen some of this stuff before, so it's not foreign to me, but it is foreign to all of you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead, Carter.
At the staff level, we have absolutely no objection to a motion to table this item. And then we can ourselves get a chance to look at it. The board can, we can talk with town council. Luann can poll her board. We can get you a little bit better package of information for 24 June.
So I would make a motion to table this item until your next meeting or maybe a future workshop. I don't know what works best for you, but I would make a motion to table this item at this time.
I second that motion.
Okay, the motion is to table the universal deed rider for Day Mill townhouses. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion to table this item, how do you vote? Julie,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Yep. And I vote yes as well. Thank you. Yeah, I was trying to pull the because I know that we have a lot of our fan base is very large, Carter. I just wanted to make sure that that we had our items out there, and I couldn't pull the one with the right agenda item on there. So I think for Diane's reason and just in an abundance of caution for our fan base, I'm glad that we're tabling it.
It's a lot to take in.
Yep. Okay, let's see. That does bring us to board and staff member comments. I want to remind everybody that I did anticipate, let's see. I did anticipate going into executive session for a brief period of time for Chapter 30A, Section 21A2 negotiations with non-union personnel. But I just want to say that before we go into board and staff member comments. On that executive session, it may be doing it slightly different than we did before, where TCTV is going to put those present, Diane, Terry, myself, and Julie, into a sectioned off room. We did do that before, and then we would come back into the main room for a possible vote and likely vote. Are there any board member or staff comments tonight?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You want to go first, Terry, please.
Just to thank you so much, Diane, and reinforce how grateful and what a pleasure it's been to. Not always been easy, but a pleasure that you put me in my place, which I appreciate, and taught me a lot, and I'm very grateful. And I wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Julie?
Yes, on that note, Diane, you will be missed, but I know you will always be out and about because that's just who you are. All of your years of service will never go unnoticed with so many people in our town. So much appreciated, and best to you in the future.
Thank you, Julie.
I'd like to give Diane the last word. So Adam, I see that you have your hand up. Adam.
Is he there?
I'm not sure. He has his hand up.
Yeah, I'm here. I just wanted to also thank Diane for her years of service, even the time she's tough on me. I take it as a learning curve. And Diane, thank you for your years of service. I know you've supported me, and I appreciate that. And with that, I think you be recognized for the town for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Anyone before Diane?
I might, Mr. Chairman. Diane and I had our discussion earlier today, and I too will miss her, and I'll keep the balance of our discussion to whatever she wishes to share at any point.
Fantastic. Diane, I'll tell you, you're an amazing, strong woman. We've cried with you. We've had our triumphs with you. I'm sitting in my chair because of you. You really know what this community needs, and I appreciate that. Whatever else we can do for you, keep in touch. We'll certainly keep in touch with you. It'll be a pleasure to sit with you on the stage next Wednesday for your last annual town meeting as the vice chair of the select board. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Absolutely.
Oh, this has been an emotional meeting for me. I've sat with a lump in my throat. I really have a passion for this community. I want to thank my community for trusting me and supporting me for 6 years. I have done my absolute best for you. I volunteered before I became a select board member. We've maybe not always seen eye to eye on everything, but I vote from my heart and I'm not always logical. But I believe that everybody knows that about me. And I'll miss sitting in this seat, but it's time for me to move on. It has been an absolute pleasure working with every board I've worked with, but especially this board. We've come a long way. When I came on the board, there was absolute financial crisis, and we've come so far, this town and this board, to Moody's rating of, I forget what that is, but it's really good. And we're not in a fiscal crisis anymore. They still have work to do, but I have the utmost confidence in this board that they'll do it. Every one of them commit from their heart and from their mind. They're all much more logical than I am. But I know that you all know that about me. I will never not have a voice in this community. I'm going to take a rest, but then you'll see me on the other side of the table. And that will be really strange for me. But I can't express enough what a privilege and an honor it's been to serve my community for all these years. I wish all of you on this board, and Carter, I have to thank you so much for everything that you've taught me. Patience is a virtue. I didn't really have a lot of that. How I introduced myself to you is definitely not how it ended up. I have the utmost respect for you and how far you've helped us come. I don't know, this community means everything to me, and I will miss you all. And I thank everybody so much for everything that you've done. And I wish this board the best. I wish Jeff the best in coming back. I have a great respect for Jeff and all that he's done too, and the new member who will be coming forward. So thank you all. I love you all with everything that I have.
Thank you, Diane. The sentiment is absolutely right back at you. Really good words. I'm glad we were able to. It's such an odd way to do it, but like Ann Goby said earlier, you know, there's a first time for everything, and I love that we got the chance to do it this way. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our business meeting. I will ask for a motion to go into executive session for action. That means that we will be coming back out, and that's in accordance. We're going to go into executive session in accordance with Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, Strategy and Negotiations, and we are going to come back out. Now, having said that, I'd ask TCTV to activate that. There's, I guess, three things that need to happen. We have to activate the breakout room. The second thing is I have to make sure that the right amount of people, the right people get in there. That's to include Julie Richard because she's on the phone. And then we come back for a likely vote. So do I have a motion to?
Oh, so moved.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to go into executive session. And to come back out into regular meeting. Okay, no further comments on the motion to go into executive session in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A2. How do you vote, Julie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Sean or Steve? Yep, there we go. There is the breakout room.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Have a good night.
I'm back. Hi, Holly.
Look at that.
Oh, that worked.
It did. We just got to figure out, Sean, if you're able to.
Okay, so we're live.
Oh, we're live
are.
now.
Yeah, we're live.
Sean, if you
Is-
could get
is Julie back?
Diane back.
I think I'm back.
Oh, not Diane. I'm sorry, Julie.
Julie, is Julie back?
No, she might. She's on the phone, and I think that might be something Sean has to do. Like he has to kill the breakout
Right.
room or
Okay.
manually put her back in.
Did you text Adam?
I
room
am
will
doing that
close.
right now.
Within a minute.
Oh, there's Julie.
I'm right here.
Okay, good.
Are we all back in?
Not Adam.
I'm
Oh.
inviting Adam back in, or not inviting. I'm texting him to come back.
Well, you kicked him out of the first one, so maybe he went to bed.
Yeah. Well, he told me. He said just text me. It's in his best interest.
I guess it doesn't let you know when it's back.
Well, we're live, so
Well, I didn't. So what if now that I'm getting good at executive sessions in Zoom, what I could have just told him was to click leave room, the blue button.
yeah.
Oh.
I thought Sean I thought you meant that I would have the ability to kick people out, and I did not. But I didn't know enough at that point to tell him to just click the blue button. Take
I
the
would've
blue
thought you
pill,
did.
not the red pill. So I'm just gonna wait. I know that we're still live. I'm just gonna wait a minute for Adam to come back as the assistant town administrator.
I'm gonna really miss all this live streaming stuff. I've been so excited
Are you now?
to have live streaming. I've been waiting forever to have live streaming. I'll get to watch
You're
you.
kidding, Diane. I don't like this.
I love it.
I like the convenience.
Yeah, I like the fact that the public can still like talk to us. And
Yeah.
He
Mike-
didn't go to bed. He's coming back. He
Monitor?
just acknowledged.
It's like a great way to, not have to come into a meeting and
Right.
that people can sit at home and still talk to us.
It opens up more opportunity. for-
Absolutely. Especially for those who can't get out.
And then we'll be
Right.
able.
Oh,
to-
he doesn't know the passcode. Hang
Oh.
on.
Then we'll be able to. stream.
04.
No, Mike,
Oh, yeah. You don't want to.
don't say it out loud.
Say it out loud.
Stop, Sean. Let me be hacked.
I was an hour early for the Board of Selectmen meeting. I was in the wrong meeting earlier.
I don't know if it's my internet or yours, but you're coming, like it's coming through kind of choppy.
Probably mine.
I don't know. I hear Julie just fine.
Too.
It's been good. There's a little bit of delay on your end, Mike.
All right, here he's coming in.
I'm here.
Now, Diane, we voted to come out of executive session. We're still in the main session here, right? We don't have to do like in another vote.
Okay,
to
so
come
now
back
we're in
into
the main
this.
session?
Holly, does that sound right?
Yes, you just come back in and you can start.
Okay, so,
Holly, could you say that again?
Yeah, now that you came out of executive session, you can just go ahead and proceed.
okay. So I'd like to make a motion
Okay,
to send a letter of intent to Adam Lamontagne regarding the position of town administrator of the hiring of town administrator to Adam Lamontagne, and to have the chairman of the board sign such letter.
Second.
I'm gonna stop my video. I'm having some bandwidth problems. So I think, was a motion made? Was it seconded?
Yes. Do you need me to repeat it?
Yeah, I stopped my video so I could work on my, or have better bandwidth. So a motion was made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Do you need me to repeat the motion? We can't really hear you, Mike.
I think
Yeah,
Mike
I don't know if it's my internet or not. How about, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah, can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
You-
Somehow it just got instantly better. I can see Adam and otherwise. So
Do you need me to repeat the motion so you can hear it?
yes, please.
So I make a motion to send a letter of intent to Adam Montaigne regarding the hiring to town administrator and to have the chairman of the board sign such letter.
And I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Adam, this for discussion, this is what we want to be able to present to you to say, this is our notice of intent to hire. It's the start of the formal process, but we wanted you to come back on and know that we're excited about this. I know that you spent a long time preparing for this, and tonight is the formalized way to tell everybody how much confidence that we have in this process and you. So congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you all. It truly means a lot to me, and I look forward to continuing to work with all of you, and thank you very much.
congrats, Adam.
Thank you.
Any
Thank you,
further-
Adam.
Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion for the notice of intent to hire to be given to Adam Montaigne to start the process for him to become the town administrator and to authorize the chair to sign that letter as soon as possible. How do you vote, Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes,
And I vote yes as well. Thank you very much, everybody. That is the conclusion of our meeting this evening. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any final words?
Congratulations, Adam.
Awesome. All those in
Thank you,
favor of
everybody.
adjournment signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. Ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mike. Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.